being not a man. It's yeah, this church thing's got me rattled today, dude. I have to admit, dude. It's rattled. It came and went, and then I was talking to this gal from the church. Being not a man. And it got me all like re-rattled about it. I was super cool. We went for a mountain bike ride. Everything was mellow. And then I got a text. She's like, how's everything going? And I'm like, well, no names, Bert. And I was like, well, and then she's like, oh, and then I filled her in, and it was like that weird thing. It's the minute I read what I was filling in, I was like, dude, that sucks, bro. like that sucks. So anyway, dude, I'm in that, like,
is that regarding the appearance from the guy from
James O'Keefe? Yeah. Well, it's for me, like, I think what it is, and I had to do something, is like I'd really become like into that thing where like I go to church for like an hour and a half, and I just listen to the preacher, and I just get to listen, dude, and just hear hear the word. I don't gotta think. I can just be a dude. I can be a man amongst men, right? And just listen and not have to, and just be like, all right, dude. And so I was sitting there today, and I haven't missed one, dude. That's me and Owl's Sunday thing is we go to church, dude, Sunday school. We're all about it, dude. You're talking to a dude who never thought that would be like something I would be into. So it's like this thing we do every Sunday, dude. We go to church. His mom goes to the farmer's market and does, gets a bunch of stuff. And then we all have lunch together after, and the whole thing. And so I got rejected at the door in this like thing. It was so weird. And I'm like, dude, like, I just need to go to church today. That's why I called you when I got rejected. I was like, dude, what do I do? Because my first thing was like, with Al, I was like, we need to go to a new church. And I'm like, where are we going? I just had that like thing where I was like, I just needed to unplug and go sit in church for an hour and a half, and it wasn't there. And then I was like, well, why isn't it there? And I go, it's because James O'Keefe is speaking at the church. Like, why is that dude? Like, I get why he's there, but I go, I just wanted to go to church today. It really rattled me, dude. Like, there's some other stuff I don't want to talk about publicly here, but like, I'm sort of wary of this celebrity church thing, dude. Like, I'm kind of into it on a certain level, like, because he's like, our preacher in the church is like all about what we're about. You know what I mean? About holding the line and not saucing up and the whole thing. But like I do need to, I am going there. I don't want to, if I wanted to go to a mega church, I would go to a mega church. If I wanted to like be at line and have to like get rejected because there's all the seats are taken. Like, I even went with Owl and I was like, hey, can I just drop Owl off for Sunday school? And I don't need to listen to James O'Keefe. I could care less, dude. I've listened to him enough, dude. I know his whole, I don't even buy into him on a certain level. I just want to drop my kid off at Sunday school because he's sitting here with Owl's got his little Bible. He's like all like ready to go to Sunday school. And they like this, the security and the people, and like, there's no more seats left. And I go, dude, like, this sucks. And then it ties into the thing I was talking to you about. Like, just this week's been a big wake up of like, you got to be really self-sufficient right now, man, spiritually and emotionally and all of that. Like, I think today, two of these balloons deflated on me, like within 4 days. Right. I'll go back to church next Sunday. It'll all be normal. But like today, like, I really needed to go sit in church. If because you're a devoted man, like you go, I'm sure that's part of your program and you miss it when you're not there.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, in full transparency, I used to be more punctual and going to my local programs in the mosque. But what happened is and I'm not, it's not, I'm not saying it is what it is, but I think when this whole thing jumped off and I saw the complacency and the lack of like due diligence on the part of leadership, and the lack of wanting to delve in and really understand. I don't expect someone to publicly proclaim, like, I get it. There's like people who are scared, and if you were to say what's true right now, people will write you off and they'll lambast you and they'll blacklist you, and then you're done. I get that fear, and I'll give a pass under the condition that you state something close to like the relative reality. And I didn't see that. In fact, I saw my very leader or imams that are getting the injections themselves. And so that has really sort of devastated me and made me turn inward. And there's a principle in Islam that says that God made the whole entire world a place of prayer. Okay, so it's not uncommon for a Muslim just to roll out his proverbial rug. And by the way, Muslims don't need a rug to pray on. It's actually better to pray just directly on the dirt without anything in between you. But you learn. And when I got a teacher, that's why I sought out a teacher. And my teacher is totally like, I mean, he said something very interesting. He's like, you have to guard, just like you have to guard what goes in your mouth, in your ears, and in your eyes. You have to guard what goes in your body. So, people who are just taking anything in their body, whether it's an injection or whatever, this is a sign of like a disease of the heart. The person is not very connected to God. They're just willing to accept anything in their body. So I haven't been going as much as possible, but today I listened to my teacher's talks, and I'll read his books, and that's what keeps me grounded. But the environment is important. The environment, when you go to a church or you go to a religious environment or a spiritual environment, to see other people doing it makes your faith stronger. And it there's something to that. There's a reality, when you get a bunch of people together, it reminds you of your purpose. And so I think that's important.
Yeah, well, that's what's funny, with like our thing. We've run such parallel tracks, because it's almost the exact opposite, right? It's a dude who's publicly proclaimed his resistance to all of it, like the pastor, right? And that's which has made him like this commodity in the anti-mandate, stand up against the beastly thing, right? He's like become that. He's like, it's like weird, right? It's the exact opposite, and yet it's the same thing. Where I'm like, dude, like I get it. You're like to push back on the whole thing, but like with the congregation, like you have like, if you're really leading the resistance, like you have to take care of the body first, like the congregation, right? Like a dude like me who like I'm a full in resistance guy. Like I lead it in my community. I sit here and I talk, I try to do my very best. Like, and it's like that. There's like a thing where like, you go and you're like, all right, I need to sit and be in this space to heal myself. Like, for example, like I sit in my spot and there's always this little family with the newborn baby, like 2 rows up, and the baby always waves at me. Like I get super stoked. The baby's always, hey. I get all like, you're right. There's the energy about it. And I didn't realize how much I needed it till today, where I was like, cause it's the only anchor point of my day, of my week, really. That's super like coordinated, if you will. Like I set everything aside to make it happen. Like, cause before it used to be like the school thing and like we're up and we do, like, it's all very casual, like now. So yeah, I struggle with it because like I'm like, there's something as an alcohol, and I don't know about you, but as an alcoholic, there's something like for me, like one of the things that like really was a struggle for me that I've sort of blown over was when they shut down the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous in California. Like that was a real tough blow. Like, and as a dude who was outspoken, like this is wrong. Like AA rule. That's why I'm like, I have a big issue with it because AA folded like a cheap suit when this thing happened, when this thing kicked off. And like a dude like me, where am I going to go? And now you can't, now you got to show up and like, there's requirements. Like that was the exact opposite. There's no dues or fees or membership, just the desire to stop drinking. Right. But now you got to put on this and you got to do that. And you can't take it. I'm like, dude, I don't do that, dude. So like, I don't go there. So like when I showed up at church today and I'm like, I pulled up and there's like a line around the church and like no parking. I pull up and it's my surfer buddy. And I go, what's going on today at the church? He's like, James O'Keefe's there. And I shrug. He's like, he laughs. He's like, me too. And so we get into line and I happen to be like early today too. We're at the end of the line and we get like to the thing and they're like, wow, there's only 25 seats left. And you can come back to the next service. And I'm just like, this is where my thing kicked in. I go, those who don't know who James O'Keefe is, who showed up at the Sunday service to find out who James O'Keefe is, like you're late to the party and I don't get what it's going to do for you, dude. Like someone was like, oh my God, I go, if you haven't listened to James O'Keefe babble and seen his bad audio yet, like what planet are you on, dude? Like it just bothered me because I'm like,
yeah, I think one of the issues, and this is happening, one of our programs, it wasn't on like our Friday prayer day, but it was like a fundraiser for, I think one of this local schools. They brought out, who's that guy, that activist guy, Sean King. They brought him out. And, it was one of those things where it's like, you have a captive audience. They're there. There are people who are of this belief, and you're bringing this other thing here that's not of that belief. And they're not going to help you build this Sunday for some people, or this Friday or whatever prayer day it is, or this event might be someone's last. So you really have to, like, for the respect of the audience and for the respect of the community, you have to like deliver what people need that's relevant for what they need right then and there. And I'm not saying that maybe a James O'Keefe or whoever might be relevant in some regard, but people are coming there in pain. Just like in our place, a dumb doctor will stand up and tell everyone how important it is for them to get the sauce on a Friday congregation day. And like, well, that's not the time for that. Maybe if you guys want to invite towards that madness on another day, but this is the time where people are coming with fears, they're coming with worries, they're coming with a disconnect, and this is the time for them to connect to God. So you have to give them that. And I think that's unfortunately the media, and not just a slam or a preacher, but this is a common thing across the globe, is that the what do you call, the infatuation with cameras and fame and media. Mm-hmm. It's sort of the test for everyone, and it's like, if you don't really have the taste for how disgusting the whole entire sorcery is, unfortunately, more often than not, you'll fall for it. And you'll the best thing to do is to say, okay, come. I don't know, but come, but no, I don't know. I mean, there's always the attraction to like bring cameras and media and all that whole thing with the hope, because the rationale behind some people, preachers or religious leaders, is that this is going to get us out farther. We're going to be able to project our message, blah, 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 blah. And the reality is that it's about going inward. It's about concealing. It's about humbleness and constraint and letting God do that thing, you know?
Well, that's I think you said exactly what kind of tripped me out is like it's the thing of like in reality, I think like I showed up today and I didn't realize how much like I was like in a state of suffering looking for that space, right? That spiritual space, that congregational energy field, right? Like I didn't realize it. And I showed up and I was like, whoa, I'm getting rejected at the door where I come for a check-in with God in a bigger setting versus
Yeah,
all of
no,
us.
that's devastating. I mean, the same way when I go to the mosque and there's a sign out front that says mask
Yeah.
up, or you got to pray outside. And I'm like, I mean, I'll pray outside, and but it didn't leave it wasn't a good introduction to my spiritual experience,
No.
you know? And that's not God's, I mean, everything is being done by God, but that is the test for the people that where they're screwing up and they're misusing that.
I think, and this is so, you know, we're sort of an activist, I would say, freedom fighting church, right? This dude's got a big pull on that. Like, and again, I didn't show up at this church because that was it. I really was like recommended by some of his parents that I know that are like us, that have children that he went to school with. They're like, dude, look, it's a great church, Sunday school. And this dude actually like has been battling since Jump Street never showed. And he's never closed and the whole thing. So I was like, oh, all right. And so as I've moved through the thing, but one thing that's troubled me about it is like, you have an activist church that doesn't do anything. Like I've talked to someone about it. I go, look, man, like when is this church going to get up after a Sunday service and all go and do the thing? Or do we just go home and just pretend to cut till next Sunday? Because you know me, I'm a super like active dude about this stuff. I go, so when I saw the people piling in to see that many people show up at church because James O'Keefe was there, I'm like, well, what's the point? You people aren't going to go and do anything with it this afternoon. You're going to go listen to James O'Keefe and go, oh my God, dude, that was fantastic. Dude, that dude's like really like gnarly. Like, yeah, like James O'Keefe. And I go, you guys didn't walk out the door and go, you know what we're going to go do today? We're going to go.
He's a gnarly government paid operative. It's gnarly parallel government paid operative.
From my perspective, and I've come and go with O'Keefe a little bit. I think he's done some good work, but there's something amiss with the dude.
Project Veritas is a total double.
Yeah, no, it's a honey trap for sure.
It's a double, man.
It's a honey trap, dude.
Yeah.
It's a honey trap doing good work, but it's a controlled opposition to make you think, because they never seem to get anything done. Like there's some of those.
They'll never talk about the actual root of it all, but that's a separate conversation.
No, so that's where like it's kind of spun me off the map again, where I had to I was like, again, now so I was talking to my buddy Corey on the phone when you called. I was like, I got to reach out as an alcoholic. Like this is where like the difference I think that people don't understand is like, I know I'm in trouble all of a sudden. Like, right. Like I'm isolated. I'm kind of in that weird space. I can tell that I want to like isolate more, like F everybody. Everybody's full of BS, dude. Kick rocks, everyone. And I'm like, oh, dude, you better start calling. That's why I called you like immediately, because I felt the thing. And I go, my one brother out there who's actually like a man and a warrior and a dad and understands what I would be talking about would know.
I appreciate you thinking of me, man. It's likewise. It's
yeah. And then I was spinning out while I was waiting for you. And I was like, oh, I know another dude. I go, let me call my friend Corey, goes to the same church. Cause I was like, I need to talk to someone who's in my church who would know what I'm talking about. He's like, oh yeah, I see it. Like, I get it. Cause I don't mind the thing, but again, as I think this goes to the other thing we were talking about today with one of the people that we both like used to do or used to tune into is you want to actually like be like cool with it. And then you kind of, there's a break with the interface between your life and what they're actually saying is going on. And I've seen it a little bit on this thing is these like, right, like what's the number one first commandment, Bird? Like,
you shall not have, no, I forget.
Yeah, well, you know, the whole thing about like, you know, the false idols. And the thing is like, I just constantly like I constantly see these people putting all this other energy on top of it all. When I really like, you know, what we were talking about today and what we were going to talk about tonight was like, there is no one between us and God, right? Like I don't need anybody else like to lead me. I'm not looking for leadership. I'm looking for like other men to shoulder to shoulder against the thing. I don't need anyone to like that. So I realized that inadvertently, like these two entities, I'd ultimately kind of been like, oh, I'll let you run the show a little bit here. Let me just like let the pressure off myself, and you kind of talk up some like leadership talk. Like give me some ideas here. And I'm like, it came crashing down on me this week. Like the thing that we were talking about earlier has been more messed up than I even thought. And it kind of hit me hard this afternoon, especially with the church thing. Cause like, I want to like, you know, you it's easy to fall victim to that thing, man. You know what I'm talking about. Like, I don't even know what is the word.
I've been thinking about like going, because there's weird online interactions you have with things online, with people, with pages, or with whatever, like, you know, like we were talking about earlier. And then there's like the real world. And then there's this reconciliation you have to make between like the things that you're seeing online, which is almost like it's like a total, it's not real. It's all this projection and people who are
to show,
like,
man.
Like no one would know who we are truly until they sit with us or talk with us, or maybe they'd have to go back and see, you know, consistently over a span of time, is this guy really like, but they really won't know unless they see us in our personal life. Point being is that the object, and I thought about this today, I was like, and I actually blocked certain things from my Instagram tonight, because I'm like, I don't want to go there anymore, because, you know, it was partially because of your encouragement, but it was also just in general, like, I need to like close off the input from what I look at and from what I listen to. There's 4 channels to the heart, right? There's what you see, there's what you think about, there's what you hear, and it's what you talk about. So whatever you talk about, listen to, look at, and think about ultimately goes into your heart and starts to affect you. And so if you're constantly looking, thinking, listening, and talking about toxic stuff, you're going to get toxic in effect. And all this being said, is what I concluded is that I have to start thinking in terms of, is this thing going to help me get closer to God? Is this thing going to help me prepare for my meeting with him one day? Because I'm going to die. No one lives in this life forever. That is one truth that we all can agree upon, is that everyone will die. That's a really like, that's a rub for a lot of people. I don't want to hear that. But that is a reality. We will die.
Yes.
And the fact that we will leave this world, what are we doing what are we doing by spending all this, our valuable time, on unconsequential things that really have no. So that's what I've been pondering a lot about. And I went through this exercise last night, which was, I'm not done with it, but it was pretty helpful. And I started to write out my obituary, like what people might say about me. What would I like them to say about me? And all this is in the hands of God. But ultimately, what could be an ideal situation if people are at your grave and they're reading a eulogy or obituary about your life, you know? And so I started to write that out, and I was like, because what it does is it will inform you of how you truly would like to live
Sure.
right now.
Sure.
And so that's an exercise I think is really powerful, you know, to do. It's to sort of, because we will be let down, brother. I mean, I'm let down by my local leadership, but at the same time, I have to be like, I have to realize that, like you just said, like we can't look for other people to, you know, save us and that was my biggest mistake in the beginning of this whole thing. I was like, I went to my local leader, scholar, or imam, and I was like, bro, like, can you believe this is happening? And he like came from a whole other side. He was like, it was mind boggling where he didn't get it at all. Actually, he was so far off that I was like, whoa, this guy is like, he was saying that ultimately, it's not even worth mentioning, but he was just said this ridiculous thing. So I realized that we are alone in some sense of the word, of like, we can't look to anyone to really save the day, quote unquote, but we're not alone in the sense that there's you know, God is with us, and there's a lot of other people that think like we do, but there's no one person like that we can.
Well, I think that's kind of what I think that's the interesting thing, right? Like, I think for me, like the little bit of the trap was like, I like as the pessimistic optimist, like I want to win, like not the prize, but the uplifting. Like I want to win by lifting the boats around me, right? A rising tide lifts all boats, right? And it's like that thing, like I want to go in the positive direction. I've really, in the last 2 weeks, I've seen this determination to fail thing that's kind of gotten under my skin in a big way. Like I didn't think that I was going to find that in so many places so close.
Determination to fail.
Determination to fail. Yeah.
I've realized. Determination or termination?
Determination.
Okay, like determined to fail. Like I'm
determined
to
fail. Like in spite of like the real black pilly type of stuff. And it's funny, like when we were talking today, like we were having a pretty deep talk about like some pretty like troubling stuff, but the root of our conversation was always how we're going to help each other become better men and fathers and integrated with God, right? Like I know when I talk to you, like no matter what's going on, like you ultimately you're trying to do the very best to get like a positive product in the end. Call it life, call it what you will, like and I think for me, I struggled. I realized that a lot of people and systems around me, like they really don't want to be successful in this new paradigm. They really truly want the failing to happen, to just go, I told you so.
There's a term for that. It's called in, I think they call it in the military,
FUBAR? What?
Pulling the pin, which is like just pulling the pin or jumping ship. You know, pulling the pin is like, you know, you basically chicken out. Like you have an object that you're going towards, and you realize that it's going to take long-term commitment to really see it through. And you start like a diet or like a program, like a workout program, but then you're like, it's easier just to fail than it is to see it through, because seeing it through
I think it's almost even weirder than that. Like there's almost a sort of communal nature on that thing is we're if we pull the pin, we're all going, right? I'm more meaning like there's this weird thing of like, I need it to fail all around me to prove I'm successful thing. That's more what I'm talking about. Like I've noticed there, like, again, I bumped into it in 3 or 4 different places over the last week, where it's like people view their winning as based upon other people's failure. And I come from a different school of thought about it. I view that winning, that the true victory is to elevate the tide in the harbor so the boats all rise, and hopefully most of those boats are seaworthy because the ones that will sink, right? Like when like they have holes in them, so they'll just sink on their own. I don't need to be wanting them to have holes in them. I've just really seen this like interesting thing, like, because I've talked to a lot of different people this week, just going to some of these protests and doing this thing. And it's like, you get to this point where they're like, no, it's okay. I don't want to know. It's, I was talking to you about it, but we're kind of rehashing a little bit for our chat, our viewers, is a lot of people, they're the same. It's the same mentality of when I used to cruise around with the core morbidity chart, right? And I would talk to my friends who were like on the fear side and be like, no, look at the core morbidity chart. It'll set you free. And they'd be like, no, I don't want to know. And I talked to the people that are supposedly on the awakened side of the whole thing. And I go, look, dude, that like, there's another level to it of this thing. And they're like, I don't want to know about it, dude. I'm fully cool with being in this system of that, or that's going to solve the problem. I go, no. Like there's another, like you can chip out on it, dude. And it's been disheartening on a certain level, because I've seen that people are really invested on successful things failing right now. In Malibu, we got a term for it. It's called the jealous opposition, right? The jealous opposition ultimately wants you to fail so that they can remain successful. You know, I have a number of, I mean, maybe you know this, and in your world too, is, so I have a number of pretty heavyweight friends, right, that are like products of the industry over there. You know, you have your own versions of them who are like second generation. They were given it to them. They were raised in that world of celebrity and cash and the whole thing. And like, they could literally pick up a phone call or do a tweet or post something to help you, like really become like help your thing blossom, right? And I stumbled onto this like 10 years ago, 11 years ago with some of these dudes. And I was like, why won't they like give me a hand? All right, Al, come in. For example, I have this, I can talk about this one. So when I was early sobriety, there was like this big pro surfer that OD'd, right? Like Andy Irons, OD'd, dead in a hotel room, right? And I know the pro surfing world underneath. And so I went to my buddy who's like, yes, I'm talking, Bird. Yeah. What, dude? The next Thursday. So I went to this buddy of mine who's in the WSL, and I was like, hey man, like I want to be like and I was trying to get my dream going. I was like, I want to be like a sober companion to one of these struggling pro surfers. Like I got an idea, like I had all the credentials and stuff. And Al, if you're going to bother me right now, I'm going to get super frustrated. And so I went and I talked to him, and he like fully like blew me off, like a broad dude I've known since he was poor, right? This dude, like, and he had all the things, and he just blew me off. And I was like, all right. And then I had this at the same time. The illusion thing was hitting. Al, if you're going to sit there and bang on stuff behind me, I'm going to get super annoyed. I'm talking to Jordan. We're doing our stream, and you know that. Please don't be disruptive. No, not that noisy thing. And so I had this other bro who's super, if I said his name, you'd be like, oh, that kid. But at the same time, the bowl cut thing was going, and I was like, why won't this dude, like, I talked to him, and I'm like, why won't he like send out the tweet for me, or the post, or do the thing, right? Like hey bro, it's my boy. Like, hey, go follow him. Like let's sell him some product. And then I realized this thing is the jealous opposition. That the people inside of it who are handed it to them, they don't actually want you to be successful on your own means, because it devalues their success that was handed to them. Because you talk to these people, generally speaking, the sons of these people, they go, I got my own this and that. When they got the seed money from the beginning, the contacts, the Rolodex, the whole thing. And if you actually showed up as, yeah, I'm the dude who just made some YouTube videos and I got a hustle and the whole thing, it's like, well, yeah, but you did it on your own. Like no one financed you. You didn't do it with your connections. No, dude, you're going to help me out. You're my bro, right? And they're like, no, dude, like I'm not going to help you out because if I did, it would expose my hustle isn't legit. And I don't know what I'm getting at, dude, but it's that thing of like, it's so multifaceted, this thing and these worlds we live in. I just saw it on the ground level this week. It shook me. It shook me.
Yeah, no, I've been there actually, probably many, many times where like it would be, especially with skateboarding, like I would achieve something like I thought was valuable, and it might have been valuable at some level. And I was like, well, why? Maybe if someone just shares this thing, then it'll propel me a little bit forward so I can actually start, and yeah, they never did. But it wasn't because they were already like handed anything. It was just, they just didn't want to help because it was viewed as a liability. Like my views might somehow mesh with their stuff, like the Muslim guy stuff shouldn't like infringe on like my pristine thing. And I think sometimes it's just that it's like your aura and your thing, they don't want to like cross-pollinate because they feel it's gonna like pollute their brand or something, which is not good. I'm not accurate, and it's whatever.
It's an interest. Well, that's the interesting struggle with these all the layers in it, right? Because I think for guys like us, especially, we see a different perspective due to just the nature of our like environments and where we've grown up. And you're like, we were talking about today, I can't sit and be quiet. Like I can't sit and not acknowledge it or do one of the like fades on it and just post bubblegum and just be like, oh my God, like nothing's happening and it's all okay. And it's like,
this is the biggest, and to that point, like this is what I told you earlier, like I think my new pet peeve with skateboarding is to go on to Instagram and see like all the guys just drop their newest shreddable trick. Like I was saying earlier, it's like, look, if you have time on your hands, if you have 10 hours to spend, you'll make your kickflip, nose grind, nollie flip to back tail, big spin out, if that's what you want to do. But not one of these guys I've heard him say or post anything that's remotely relevant to the real world or anything. And that's what's weird. It's like, how much longer can you post monkey tricks and talk about inconsequential things that are just like little shenanigans, little things where you like, you jump off something like, you jump off something naked and you run around crazy, or you do some jackass maneuver, and that's it. And that's I don't know, that kind of like is whatever. This is bothers me.
Well, I think that the struggle is right. There's this shallowness to it all, right? Not saying that I'm real deep or anything, but and then there's this infinite pool, right? Call it God, right? There's this infinite depth, right? And we can glimpse at it. We've talked about it enough. We can see it. We know it's there. We have the connection with God to realize that our mortal self is totally just scratching at the iceberg. We're not even seeing the iceberg. We're like blindly like scratching at the iceberg, dude, on the surface. And then you go in this thing where it's like, it really is like a daunting task to constantly like stay in that space, because over there it looks, I mean, I don't know, dude, it looks so easy over there, this dance. And then you look at over there as the ones that are really like doing it too, is it almost looks easy over there too. And I'm just like, what? It's so complicated in this like space. And then I go, I'm an alcoholic. So what am I? Oh, of course it's complicated, dude. Cause I can't get around my own firewalls, if you will.
What's the way forward, man? I mean, I think
for me, I think you were talking about it a lot. Is it's this focusing back into the core of it, what it is, man. It's almost like, it's funny. It's like when you talked about it, like that's what I mean. It can be viewed, it could almost be viewed as selfish. Like, and maybe that's the answer. Like, and that's what Jordan, that's what I struggle with. Like, I see and pay attention. I see these brave human beings right now. Like, and I just want to be brave like them. Right. And I'm like, dang, dude, I would and I go, and then there's a part of me that's just like, fold up tent, shut up, and go. Just like, it's this weird, I know that's neither of those realities are almost relevant, right? It's like, it's just caught in this like weird, I know today for me is just one of those days. So I know that, like, but I go like, I don't know. I talked about it with you before. Like, I can't see the space between those two dialectics, right? Like, it's hard for me. So I'm just trying to move through with God and just be like, all right, just keep moving forward. Don't stop moving forward and allow God to get you to where you're supposed to go. And it's going to be okay. Because look, I mean, for me, like, one of the things that I saw that ultimately crushed me was one of the interviews that, like, our only interview we had, like, that's it, right? Like, I can't do that. I can't ever back down on this thing. Like, I'll never back down on it.
What I think about is, to what you're saying is I totally get it. And that's been my thing of like, I want to like post this thing, or I want to say this thing. And it's interesting that, and I'll go back to what personally, like, my struggle when I look at what is truly hard, what is really difficult versus what is easy. And I think what we're thinking is difficult is actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
I mean, what we think is easy, or maybe what's not even on our radar, but what's truly difficult really is looking at ourselves and seeing all these diseases we have, all these issues we have, and addictions. I'm not talking about, for some people it might be PORN, but for other people, it might be just talking bad about someone else. It might be just in general, just neglect, or there's a lot of, there's jealousy, there's envy, there's hatred, there's anger, there's all these bad qualities that I'm talking about me personally, what we struggle with. So there's a work to be done on ourselves.
Sure.
So that we can come back to the community or the people we serve better than we ever were before. And I think that that's what's missing, is that a lot of this is like we prematurely have come, whether intentionally or unintentionally, into the fore, and we're trying to serve, but not saying you in particular, I'm talking about myself, trying to serve people at a deeper level when we haven't really been fixed yet.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And I'm not saying to completely stop, but there is like a shift in attention to like inward, and giving ourselves that time we need to really work on ourselves. So when we come back and we do, whether it's doing a live or talking to a friend on the phone, we're really coming with ourselves fully, with prayer and connected to God, and not in a preachy way. I'm just saying we've resolved, or we're in the process of resolving some of those diseases, or at least in the effort of resolving them. But I think that's and to that one person we were talking about earlier, I was like, yeah, you're not like doing porn, but there's another shade of it, which is, there's another addiction, which is this hatred and this racism, or there's and racism is obviously, that's a, interpreted different ways, but I mean, let's just say hatred.
Well,
So
no, that's, I think that's the interesting, I think, as I was talking to you today, is like, now that the dust of where we are in time and space, like, I don't think there's any way to have avoided this sort of interesting time we've been through. Is like, it's funny, this person I was talking to or texting with, this woman from the church, she's like, do you have any other like men in the, Christian men thing? And I was like, I just wanted to be like, not, I mean, there's my one bro I called, and I got my Muslim brother, but I go in my immediate like circle, I go, nah, dude, I don't really know many alpha men like out there. I just see a lot of dudes who are like, claim it, and then they surrender it over to like some fictitious leader, dude, and be like, well, and I go, no, the buck can't stop there. Like, let's go down it and like really like do something about it, like as for ourselves more than anything. And you get into this weird, like, I'm not saying there's like another dude in Santa Monica here who's like hard radical. Like, I got a couple of them, but I mean, in like you really do realize how isolated you are after 2 years of this. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I got my own little world and I feel pretty safe in it. But today, I think today was a full raw exposure. I was like, whoa, there was a moment where I was sitting there and I go, damn, my lifeline is my one bro I've cultivated a pretty strong relationship with over the last 2 years, who's up in the Bay Area, right? Like, there was no, like, I'm going to go jam over to my bro's house and like, man up type of stuff. There was nowhere to go except home, right? And go home and like, we it's not, wasn't it? It was, we went, what did we do when we got home, Bert?
Went for a bike ride.
We did go for a mountain bike ride today. But I did. I flipped on my YouTube channel and talked to my people and we read scripture and stuff. But I guess what I'm saying is like, yeah, it's a weird time we live in, because like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know one house right now where I would be like, I'm going to go over there and hang out and talk to another dude about like what it is to be like what we talk about. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't have, that's gone. Like, it's very weird. I got exposed today to like the lack of depth within my interpersonal circle, and it kind of rattled me. I think that's what I'm talking about. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I would just to their defense. Sorry, I've got a printer going off here. To their defense, I would
yeah.
I would looking past some of the shortcomings is also an act of obedience to God,
Well,
it's hard to do that when there's glaring truth in like neglect on the side of like the of the community. But I do think like there is a reason why. And you imagine Jesus, may peace be upon him, when he came, there's no doubt that the corruption was the same as it is now.
Sure.
There's no difference. I mean, to think that, yeah, now it's like it's global in the sense, or whatever, flatty, if you're, however you want to put it, but it's everywhere now, pervasive. But then it was, we're all in a sense having to like be our own island, where we, Abraham was alone. He was so alone. He was the only one that actually was accusing everyone of idol worship. His own father was a maker of idols, and he was the only one to stand up and say, all of you people are lunatics, you're wrong. And Nimrod said, well, I'm God. And Abraham said, okay, if you're God, prove it. So Nimrod brought one of his prisoners that was in his dungeon, and one that was two people he brought. He brought one, and he killed one of them, and he let the other one free. And he said, see, I give life and I give death. I'm God. And then Abraham said, well, my God brings the sun from the east and sets it in the west. If you're God, why don't you bring it from the west and set it in the east? And then Nimrod shut his mouth and couldn't say anything. So, but he was alone. And I think that there's lessons in these prophetic, there is lessons, big lessons in these prophetic stories, is that we are in a sense, in some regards, alone, in at least throughout our day in the situations. And we have to keep that in mind. Like what does God want from me at this time, regardless of what the world is doing? And I think at the end of the day, and I'll say this lastly, is that we have to rise on the day of judgment with our own deeds.
Yes.
And with our own, taking account of what we've done. And, although I do believe there is something to protesting and being out there and sort of voicing what's true, I think it becomes problematic when it's in neglect of our own self,
No, well, I think that's the weird, you bump into these. I think it's hard for me personally, from my experience on that, the isolation in that sense has always been based upon that weird thing that, you see the potential, right? So you go, okay, like there is this grand potential, and underneath it, there's just, it's kind of circles back to what I'm saying, is like underneath it, you see glimpses of it and you're like, dude, like, wow, if we could only like keep that whatever energy space going or capitalize on it and expand it, like, and then it's always this weird balloon that deflates. So it's like, yeah, on that thing is like, that's where it's dangerous for me as an individual, because I'm pretty much a hermit by nature, right? Like, but I can't really be, because I have my sidekick and my family and the whole thing. But like, so I think where I've been, like, I think what I'm talking about too is, I think there was a part of me that was like, all right, on that same principle, like, let's go in and try to like interface out of this thing, right? Because so for like the 2 years, it's been like a real weird thing, right? And then you're like, okay, like the one thing is this, on just back to what I started talking about, is I'm going to show back up at my church on Sunday, because I have met a lot of rad people there, and I do enjoy seeing them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I am fully aware that there is this simpler subtone that it is what it is, and it's just up to me to like show up. But there's always this weird thing when I get close and I see it, like the thing I was talking to you about earlier today with that other character was, I think what attracted to me was I was like, I see the potential again, and I'm like, oh dude, if we stay in the truth of dignity and grace and love and empathy and forgiveness and all this stuff, like, we're unstoppable. And I was so willing to like see that potential, that I was neglecting the truth underneath it all of the fallen man, right? Of that can only be achieved in God's perfect reality that I have to prepare for. and that at the end of the day is it's just as much as my own scene in my own private world where is full of like warts and pimples and failures and all of that stuff. But I do really see the potential of all of us. Did I see glimpses of it going on up in Canada right now? I'm like, oh my God, that's like, there's beautiful, people are beautiful, dude. Like I really see this beautiful potential. I guess that's what I'm saying is like, everybody's so caught up in the making everything so ugly, dude. And I'm like, dude, like why can't we, why is the mission? And again, I know the truth that it's the fallen man is that's why it doesn't get to be what it is, because we've cursed ourselves by the whole thing. And yeah, every now and then I think it's just you sit there and you go, this sucks.
Oh. Well, I mean, look, I think there's a
I guess that's it. It's like, all right, that's it. It's okay, man. It's all right, dude. It's like, look, man. It's. I think I operate from like my life's pretty privileged in like the grace of God. Like I have a good life, man. And I have the ability to reflect, and I want to raise the frequency. And there people like, and I can only speak as from the alcoholic perspective, is people want to be miserable, and there's nothing you can do. And it sucks sometimes because you're like, look, dude, like, no, we can do. Imagine if we were all doing this together, what we could do. Like I'm I'm a fumbling fool. I'm like myself. Imagine if we were all working together to do this, what we could do.
That was my, like, when this whole thing jumped off, I was like, that was my whole thing. Like, that's what I approached my community with. I was like, okay, guys, like the signs are here. The last days that we talk about, the last days are here. We're going through it now. Let's prepare. And it was like, no, those aren't signs of the last days. This is there's a really deadly virus out there. We need to protect ourselves from it. So it's like you're not correlating that to. It was just like, whoa. So yeah, man. I mean, I do think that there is more. I do think they're out there, people that they do get it. They may not get it exactly the way we would like them to get it, but I think that there's a lot of close enoughs, and I think I know. I mean, it's we're all like, for what you're doing here, you're serving your community, and there's a lot of people that need you, or rely upon you, and same with me in my own little way. I'm serving my community. And I think that the best thing we can do right now is just to keep ourselves, to exercise ourselves in the sense of like our righteousness, to keep practicing doing what's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the hardest thing. Huh?
Talking.
What's that? The only thing regarding the
okay. Owl says 10 minute warning.
Yes, we're gonna close it out. I gotta go too, Al. I know old men, they tend to ramble about
Big beard guy.
Big beard guy.
We kind of talk about the same things over and over again, Al. Sorry about that. One thing about the Canada thing, I wanted to leave you on a thought. I was pondering it. I do think it's a real thing. I don't think it's fake. Like certain people say. Obviously not fake. But I was thinking regarding the sauce. I think Trudeau did a deal for sauce distribution.
Oh yeah,
because he did a deal with I was listening. Was that guy Martin, Dr. Martin, that lawyer? What was his name?
I don't know. Chris Martin? I don't know.
Anyways, so
Big prosperity guy.
he was saying some interesting things. But food for thought. I was like, well, what if this whole thing they're doing is like some sort of interesting like data collection thing, you know, where they're just kind of, yeah, the people are doing, it's real and they're protesting, but I wonder if they're like, if it's sort of a primer for what's coming. Not that it matters.
Well, I think you feel the weight. I think I feel like as an intuitive, I do feel the weight of like the grasping humanity to rise out of this trap or whatever it is, or yoke, or what this narrative of the cycle, and you go, oh my goodness, like like everyone's really signing up for this thing, and you're like, oh boy, dude, oh boy, and yeah, and it's so, and there's no running, there's nowhere to go. It's really just, it is really this. Cross 777 had a pretty good thing the other day about it. Like this gal was talking, it's like really just. It is your house is going to have to be your temple, man. And you're going to have to do this thing and declare your house and your family, your own church and congregation, and use the whole paperwork to protect yourself. And that means, and I'm like, all right, I get it. And it's a very weird time. I agree with you on the data collection. Of course, that's what it all is. I watched that movie. Have you seen that movie Tenant?
No.
What? No. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, it's all, you know, about the building these things in the future. It comes back. It's all this time quantum mechanics stuff. And one thing they say
is it on Netflix?
No. We don't do Netflix here, but the one thing they were like, how do you contact the future? And the gal's like, we're doing it all the time with our cell phones and our emails and the whole thing. And it's this trippy thing where like everything of it is this data collection. Right now we're doing it. There's no getting away. And even to not do this is to be data collected, right? There's no unmining the data at this point. So I don't care about that. I do just see like this thing where it's like, I know it to be true because I experience it myself constantly, is the power we have as individuals. And if we stay in the true beauty of being an individual, we are like insurmountable and unstoppable as these beings created in God's image, man. And I just go, oh, like, dude, we're like, it's that weird thing where it's like you're stacking the cards up and you're like Jenga blocks, right? Like you're pulling the Jenga block. You're like, no, and then I don't know. It's just that.
What before you go, what should we have someone on? Should we have a guest?
Yeah, I'm always down for a guest.
Should we see if Ben Schroeder wants to get on?
Yeah, anyone you want to have on, Jordan. The more guests, the better, dude. Like for me, I found that like when I was feeling pretty good, I was having a lot of the co-hosts on, and it's like, because like I think I'm pretty isolated over in my California world, dude. Surprisingly so. I really realized it today. I was like, holy smoke, dude. Like, yeah, I can do it because I'm a hermit by nature, but like, I don't want to, that's my old life thing. When I got sober, my spiritual advisor says, you don't get to live on top of the hill by yourself anymore, man. And I sort of feel a little bit like I'm living on top of the hill by myself. Yeah, I got this dude keeping me straight. You keeping me straight, Bird? And I got my one surfing mountain biking buddy who like I talk to a lot. That dude's a good dude, man. But you know, yeah.
What about Kelly Slater? You said, were you the one who said that he had posted something Was it?
Yeah, he's Slater hugely pushed back on Australia about the whole thing.
Was it on his Instagram or was it
No, that's like all over the news, dude. Like I think he on his Twitter, some he posted somewhere like he called it. He's like his whole thing was you got to stop calling it Stockholm syndrome and call it Melbourne syndrome, dude. You guys, this is pathetic. But the interesting thing that I didn't know was Taj Burrow is on it too, and Taj Burrow's the gnarliest, and then Barton Lynch too just recently got fired from the WSL because of his anti-science beliefs. So it's the surfers. Some of these surfers are actually like, dude, Kelly Slater just won the Pipe Masters, like in an undeniable, like masterful ballet of surfing to win, and that is like the gnarliest surfer on the planet. He ain't down. So I don't know how the surfing world moves around that truth. You know, you can call me crazy because I am crazy, but but Slater's like a full super healthy, like Adonis, like warrior, dude. That dude's calling BS on it, dude. Like that dude's got the physical attributes to prove it. You know what I mean? That dude just paddled out and smoked every small kid. You figure in surfing, right? You're in your mid-20s, you're in the prime of your career. That dude went and smoked every dude in the prime of their career on the gnarliest wave in Hawaii at 50, dude. Just smoked them all, dude.
Is that what the Masters is? It all ages?
Yeah, well, it's just all surf. Yeah, it's the gnarliest surfers. Yeah, but like Kelly Slater's like,
it's not like a 40 and up thing. It's just
no. He's going up against the best in the world, and they're youthful prime surfer dudes. Like, and they can't touch that dude. That's why he's like the 45-time world champion. Like that dude's not. So when that dude comes out and is like, I ain't playing this game with you guys. It's not like some other dumb athlete. Like that dude's like still winning the gnarliest contests on the planet at 50. Like, you know, it's not like Magic. If Magic Johnson came out at 50 and won the whatever the things are with the basketball championships, Super Bowl, whatever the hell it's called, dude. Then you would be like, all right, dude. Yeah. Like, but no, Michael Jordan at 50 isn't doing dunks and winning championships with the team, though. That's the beauty of surfing. It's an individual sport, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I was happy to see that. Yeah. No,
Omar, it was pretty, I gotta say, it's like, I'm not a big like dude, but I was like, wow, that's super impressive. I was impressed. And what he said, but he hears his little speech too. At the end, when he won, he was like, basically, like all the stuff I did to get here, I've hated a lot of it, dude. He did some truth in there, which was pretty interesting because he went 50. I think he's looked back on his life maybe a little bit. It's like, I sacrificed some good stuff to get here and put up with a bunch of BS, but I'm still the gnarliest. So suck it, dude. Suck it.
Yeah, man, it counts for something, you know, especially in these times where the multitudes are so out of it, and then you have someone like that, you know,
LOL.
It's a little bit of a win for everyone, you know, in truth, in some way.
Yeah, you know, he knows more than he's letting on, I think, dude. So,
well, Al, I know you're getting tired. Your dad's on.
Bedtime.
10 minutes is up. Yeah, brother. Next week, maybe I'll work on reaching out to Ben Schroeder.
That would be rad, dude.
Good one.
That would be rad, man. And look, I appreciate your time today, brother. I know I've talked your ear off a bunch, and you showed up. So I do appreciate you, brother. Love you, man.
I love you too, bro. No, I enjoy it likewise. The same.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
I'll hug the children. I love you.